Welcome to the Honest Hour. I'm your host, Luis Acevedo, founder of MOT Media, and we also have the MOT Today show, which comes on Sundays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right now, you are watching the Honest Hour, where we do coverage over current events that are taking place over the day, try to provide you with unique topics that most people aren't talking about and different perspectives. That's the whole goal here, and try to uh, you know, give as good information as possible. We like to say that we will not lie to you, and we may be wrong, but we won't lie. That's a motto that we like to go by here. So, yeah, we have a pretty good show for you guys today. First thing that I want to touch on a little bit here was something that I learned while I was driving around. And I'm sure a lot of you are unaware of this. Maybe you are, but I definitely didn't know this. And I've been in what you can call the truther community for quite some time. And it is a rather telling piece of legislation that was passed back in 2012 under the Barack Obama administration. So it is a little dated. It's 10 years old. But like I said, I knew nothing about this. And I'm sure a lot of people don't know anything about this either. And it tells you a lot about our media. It's actually very telling. And so right here it is. I'm going to share it for everybody on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Unfortunately, TikTokers, you are going to have to just listen to me talk about it, which is totally fine. You know, I try to make this show not so much about the visuals. That way, those who listen to it later on audio alone will be able to pick up all of the show too. So here we go. This is called the Smith-Mutt Modernization Act of 2012. And basically, what this act allowed for is the United States to disseminate government funded projects, whether it be through movies, through video, through audio, through films, whatever way that they were going to fund it and disseminate propaganda in foreign nations. They made it legal to do that in the United States. So government funded agencies are now allowed to push propaganda on their own population here in the United States that used to only be legal in foreign nations. But since 2012, it has been made legal to do so in the United States. I thought that was rather interesting and very telling. You know, there are some fact check articles out on this saying that it's a conspiracy theory, it's fake, that the United States media can now lie to the population intentionally. But the way that they try to get around that is saying that, well, government funded projects. Anybody who's looked at any of these fact checking sites knows exactly what I'm talking about. They say false at the top, then you read it and it says, well, it's actually true, but it's just taken out of context. And that's exactly what it had said. It was like, well, you see, not private media companies aren't necessarily allowed to lie to them, but government funded agencies that disseminate news can sway public opinion using propaganda legally in the United States if it's funded by the taxpayer dollars. And we all know that a lot of these news organizations are going to take some of their information from these government funded sites. And therefore, you have the legalization of lying to the American people through the Smith-Mutt Act of 2012, signed by Barack Obama. And actually, before anybody over here is like, oh, those damn Democrats, those damn liberals, it was a Republican who sponsored the bill. It was a Republican who sponsored the bill. They say they're entertainment. Yeah, do you dislike Obama? Yeah, I'm not a fan of Obama. I'm not a fan of Obama at all. I think that there was a lot of things that he did wrong. I think that he increased the racial tension in the nation. If you just look at the tweet that he last sent out, what was it, 2-3 days ago, whenever the mass shooting happened, he basically was like, oh yeah, we're sorry about those kids who allegedly got killed. He did say that they got killed. But anyway, those kids that died, we're sorry about that. But let's not forget about the second-year anniversary of our good old heroin addict, George Floyd, and porn star. We can't forget about the porn star and heroin addict who died 2 years ago. Can't forget about that. Can't forget about that. That's more important than this alleged mass school shooting. So I think that he is a tool, just like I think all presidents are essentially tools for the powers to be, that we don't necessarily know who those powers are. A lot of people want to speculate that they're Freemasons, it's the Illuminati. I don't think that anybody really knows. Watch out. Some people take that stuff crazy. Yeah, 100%. 100% they do. So, nobody really knows who's controlling it, but definitely we can logically conclude that fundraisers, the supporters of these politicians, are in there, have a lot of control. My father was a Freemason. Interesting. I know a couple Freemasons. They seem to be okay people, but a lot of people I know also swear that they're a satanic organization once you get to the higher rankings. I don't really have anything to prove that up other than the general conspiracy theories that people can find online. The president is the sales manager. Yeah, I mean, kinda. I would say that he's more so like a car salesman, not like a car manager. What's going on, man? What's going on? Glad to see you here. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I would say more so that the president's like a car salesman, not even the sales manager. They're like very, very low ranking, because the people who are funding their campaigns really have their ear. They could be like, hey, I talked about this before. It could turn out like it can appear to be innocuous when they're, giving you this money and they're like, I believe in what you're trying to do and I want to support you. But then a year gets into their, maybe even 6 months gets into their term, they're like, hey, I did give you $100,000 check. So do you think you can help me out, get this regulation away, help me get this bill passed? So then they start using their political tools. The wealthy individuals do. You see it at the local level too, and the state level. It's not really that far-fetched to understand. A lot of people have come to these conclusions before. So yeah, I think that that's essentially what we see with most politicians. Trump was kind of an exception just because he was a multi-billionaire going into the presidency, and he used less money than other candidates did in 2016 and won. But I still think he was, essentially bought and paid for via debt. He owed a lot of money to the banks, and so the banks and the financial elites of the world still had their hold on him through debt. That's, a huge thing. He isn't a billionaire. Okay. I mean, that's what he claims, and that's what you'll find online. Who knows? I don't really know his personal statement, but the bankers had control of him. I mean, this is the one thing that people really forget about Trump, especially those who support him and think that he stood for freedom. They forget about the fact that he's the one who pushed through Operation Warp Speed, and he's the one who enforced lockdowns. He started wearing masks, encouraging people to wear masks. So Trump went along with it at the end of his term, and now he's sponsoring people like Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz was a known leftist who supported abortion, and now they're trying to portray him as this conservative hero who's sane. I really think Trump is just trying to get the support. He's trying to endorse people who have a lot of clout, so that way in 2024 he can run for president. Hopefully in exchange they will reciprocate their endorsement for Trump, use their base to hopefully vote for Trump in 2024. That's what I think his angle is. I could be wrong, but that's what I suspect, because he did support J.D. Vance as well, and J.D. Vance had a lot of support or a lot of clout before running for the Senate. I mean, he wrote the book Hillbilly Elegy, and that was a huge success. Senator McConnell came to him saying, you should run for senator in Ohio, and he ended up doing that, and he was a big anti-Trumper, right? And Trump was big on the fact that if you don't support me, if you're not loyal to me, then screw you. I won't support you either. But then he turns around and supports J.D. Vance, and I think he supported J.D. Vance because of J.D. Vance has popularity behind him. Yeah, that could possibly be true. I mean, I don't know, because how much debt was he in? How much debt was he in? I don't know. Maybe he was in no debt, but I doubt it. A lot of those wealthy individuals are buried in debt. They make a lot of their money off of debt. And I think debt is the thing that allows the financial institution to control those who are wealthy. That's why I think it's very important for people to get out of debt. I'm not a financial advisor or anything, but the most important thing people can do, I believe, is getting out of debt. I think that alleviates so much pressure, and then you don't need to make so much money in order to have a quote unquote good material life. Seriously, I mean, if you're living in a relatively inexpensive area, like somewhere in the Midwest, and you have no debt, you can live very well. It didn't work out, but he had great ideas. I haven't looked much into him, so I don't know, but I do know that he ran for president. I don't know much of his ideas. I know that he was sort of anti-establishment, which is interesting. I always find it interesting when the billionaires and very wealthy individuals appear to be anti-establishment because they use the establishment itself to get rich, which is fine. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I just find it kind of interesting. Like, how would they restructure the system? And also, if the system was different, would they still be wealthy? I don't know. So I'm definitely not criticizing that, not calling it hypocritical or a contradiction, but it's just interesting to consider. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of corruption in politics. And then we see right here with this bill, this is the one thing I wanted to start the show off with. I thought it was very fascinating. I don't know. I mean, it sort of elucidates some of the fact that the media is really pushing out fake news and propaganda a lot because they legalized it back in 2012. They legalized it so the government can fund it. And something else that people are unaware of is the fact that the government actually has a liaison. The Defense Department has a liaison for Hollywood. So there's a liaison for Hollywood produced movies in the Defense Department. Yeah, it's pretty wild. So many wealthy people create startups and companies, get investments, and know they're never going. Yeah, they're never going to make a profit and then pay themselves a high salary for a few years and leave the company. That could be true. I mean, yeah, we definitely see that in crypto a lot, right? We see a lot of rug pulls and failed projects, but the creators of said projects make out very well. They make out like fat rats, right? So that seems to be the way it goes. Definitely, being a business owner, being a founder of something, inventing something is always a good route to get wealthy. So, yeah. Anyway, I want to jump into some other topics that we have here on the show today. One of the first things that I really wanted to dive into was this pilot that's going to be out in Italy. So I'm going to share it once again with everybody over in YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, podcast listeners, and TikTokers. I will read the summary of it so that way you guys know exactly what's going on. So the title right here is Italy announces rollout of dystopian social credit system. Compliant citizens will be rewarded for good behavior. So on the 28th of March, Matteo Lipor and mayor of Bologna, I'm not sure how the freak you pronounce it, and Massimio, I don't know. He's the counselor for digital agenda and civic use of data, announced the city's digital innovation plan for 2022 to 2024. And so it looks like he is quoted saying, "We will start with a pilot project for the city. At the center is the virtuous citizen, the one who, for example, separates waste well or does not waste energy, or uses public transport and does not take fines or is still active with whatever welcome card." And so basically what they're trying to do here is incentivize good behavior, and they will be paying you in cryptocurrency if you do well, if you do the things that they want you to do, and your actions will be monitored. And this reminds me of the Alibaba president, group president, that spoke at the World Economic Forum, stating that they have a carbon tracker. So they will be able to monitor and watch everything you're doing via the carbon tracker. And so that will work right hand in hand with this social credit system and getting paid in cryptocurrencies. Now, I do want to say that social credit systems appear to be a scary thing, but we have to understand that, especially in the United States, we already have the foundation for the social credit system, and we've had it for years, and they've been normalized for years. The precursor to that is the credit system, the credit score. Your credit score determines whether or not you can do business with the bank. How good are you at taking out debt and repaying that debt? If you don't have any debt and you're good at paying in cash, you don't have a good credit score. So you have to obey the system in order to have a good credit score, in order to get these loans, in order to get better benefits, etc. So we already kind of have the precursor for the social credit system. And another idea that I like to throw out there, especially when it comes to the social credit system, is this. It's a very natural thing to have a social credit system. Societies naturally have a social credit system. And that's how culture is made. That's how a country is made. That's how a nation is made. You determine who is in your society, who is in your group, and who is not in your group. It's a very exclusive structure that I think is very natural. Now, I understand the downsides of this particular social credit system, because we're then going to be under the control more so of the elite who want us to follow their agenda, which is ultimately dystopia, right? I got a comment here. People with yachts, private planes, numerous homes want to track me as a joke. I know it is a joke, and they want us to limit our fossil fuel usage, which I don't even know that they come from fossils. I highly doubt that. The oil, that is, the gas that we use. Really, then Antifa would be in jail, right? Maybe. I mean, they are they're useful idiots for the elite. They're useful idiots, as are the BLM groups, the people that are in BLM, useful idiots. So maybe they will be. I mean, eventually you see that these groups get turned on by the people they're working for. It ends up backfiring for these groups. That's why it's not, that's why we were talking about early not supporting the trucker convoy. We were talking about not supporting a lot of these things that appeared to be organic and good to fight against the system. Mob looting. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You got to explain what you're talking about there. But, we were very much against those kind of movements because they seem very orchestrated, and now they're just constant targets. And you can get a little taste of where cryptocurrency is going in so far as the tracking. Now, to preface with this, I am a big fan of cryptocurrency. I do have pretty much all of my investment portfolio is in cryptocurrency. So I am, I like crypto. I do like crypto. I see a lot of benefits to it, but we cannot ignore the fact that there are a lot of downsides to it as well. It is not as anonymous as using cash. It is more difficult for people to actually secure their funds and protect their funds than it is in the traditional system, which is why I think we're going to see a lot of these regulations. We're going to see the central bank digital currencies. It's going to make people easier it's going to make people easier. It's going to allow people to more easily use cryptocurrency. Social score, mob looting is allowed up to what? $900. Right. Yeah, I mean, that obviously would not be a good thing, I would imagine, unless they're like, oh, they were defending nature. They were defending the climate by destroying the gas station. Could be something like that, right? I mean, it's not far-fetched. We see that they were setting bricks and stuff up for people to use at these riots that happened a couple years ago, right? So who knows? Maybe they'll see some benefits from it. Maybe it'll just encourage them to do more lockdowns, more excuses for lockdowns, the more riots, the more food shortages there become. But The thing that I like to point out is that's going to be mostly felt in the cities, in the urban areas. I think that in rural areas, it's going to be less felt. And where are you politically? Um, Obviously, no, it's not obvious, but I do lean right on a lot of my views. But I do not align with the Republican Party. I'm not a libertarian. I'm very minimal government. You know, I would like to consider myself a tribalist. So I think that it's most natural for humans to operate in tribes. I think that the idea of a nation is too big. I understand like what a nation is. A nation is of people, but the way that it's understood today, nations get too big and they become fragmented. That's what we're seeing with the United States. And so I think it's much more natural for humans to live in tribes, in villages. So I would like to see a political system set up in like a city state fashion, and it's more tribal. I think that's the way to go, because humans just operate better with a small group of people as opposed to a large group of people. Anarcho-primitivist. I wouldn't say I'm an anarchist at all, but I am more of a primitive. Yeah, I do like the primitive ideas a lot, but I'm not very primitive either. I'm not a Luddite. I like technology. I see a lot of useful things that can be done with technology. For example, what we're doing here. I already mentioned that I like cryptocurrency, but I like to talk about the negative side of cryptocurrency as well. And I don't believe in anarchy at all. I don't think anarchy ever works, because there's always going to be some order. You know, what we see in these third world countries where there's essentially anarchy is gangs, terrorist organizations, whatever you want to call them, attempting to take over all the power. And so it's very natural for there to be a government, small or big. It's just a very natural thing. So I'm definitely not an anarchist. The system financially is taking home ownership down, which hurts the family unit. Um, I don't know. I don't know that it really does, because do you really own? I think what really hurt the family unit is neighborhoods. I think what really hurt the family unit is urbanization, cities and neighborhoods, and mortgages, obviously. Because first off, in order to break up the family unit, which most people consider the family unit the nuclear family, which is the mom, dad, kids, right? That's what most people consider as the family unit. So, in order to break up that family unit, what must be done first? Well, you have to break the extended family. And the extended family used to really work together and live together mostly, and combine their wealth, combine their resources. So, how do you break the extended family? Well, through industrialization. So then you have multiple generations, future generations, going out into the city thinking that they're going to be independent. And you have brainwashed parents who are falling into the propaganda saying, yeah, it might be a better life for you to go work in the city as opposed to working in the field. And so then you get this destruction of the extended family. And then this is how you destroy the nuclear family. After you make the nuclear family vulnerable. So then the husband and wife, the father and mother, are reliant on themselves and then becoming friends with strangers, because now they're so separated from their extended family. And now you're in this urban environment, you're in these neighborhoods. So now he has to go work, she has to sew things at home, and the kids have to go work as well. And then it's encouraged, hey, little Johnny, once you become a man, you got to move out and be on your own. You got to get your own place, because that's what being an adult is having your own place. You can't live with mom and dad forever, despite the fact that's naturally how things work in just the world for humans. You see culture still doing this today. In China, it's a known practice. What's with the war on religion? More family breakdown. Check this. We used to pass down our homes to the next generation. Exactly. Everybody's getting it. 2018 ruined the neighborhood vibe in my area. I could imagine that. I mean, a lot of people struggled during that period. But anyway, so then you get this fragmentation of the nuclear family after you rip apart the extended family, which there should be no distinction between extended family and nuclear family. That, in my opinion, was a psyop to get people to say, well, my nuclear family's, more significant than my family in general. Like, oh, I will do more for my nuclear family than I would do for my extended family. I think that's backwards. I think that people should have the same commitment to their family on an equal scale, especially if it's operating as it should, especially if the family unit is legitimately functioning as like a well-oiled machine, if you will. So you get little Johnny off going to live on his own, and then you get little Susie going off and living on her own, and now the family is just completely destroyed, right? Why do you think people have this empty nest? Like when your kids leave, you have this empty nest syndrome. That isn't a natural thing, I don't think. It's all orchestrated. What do I know? 3 paychecks to pay rent is not sustainable. Yeah, no. What's the war? What's with the war? No, BLM started it. It was their website. Yeah. I love you, but I don't love my sinful Satan, flesh, nature. Okay, cool. So, yeah, I think that that's the real issue here. And then as far as the war on religion, I don't think that there is a war on religion. I think there's war on certain belief systems, because I think atheism and scientism and transhumanism are all religions of their own, and they're just trying to get you to switch your religious mind, your religious belief over to their religious belief, because they understand that the masses need some sort of religion to function coherently in whatever manner they want it to be done. Watch the YouTube video documentary called False Gods of Our Time. I'll check it out. Well, I'll try to remember. So let's see here. Was there some other stuff that I wanted to touch on? Yeah, so I think that that's really what's going on with the family unit. So what I am doing with my family is, we are going to be, during the pandemic, they shut down worship, even in parking lots. No, they didn't. Churches just cucked. That's what happened. You have a bunch of fake humans who were too scared. There's been pastors who stood up to this and won in court legally. So no, they didn't do it. It's all consent. Next thing you know, they're going to say, well, they made me put on a mask. They never made me put on a mask. Oh, they made me get a jab to keep my job. They never made me get a jab. It's all a choice. It's all a choice. All a choice. So no, they did not shut down worship. They negotiated with the pastors, and the pastors were like, well, yeah, we have to shut down worship, because got to listen to the government. And also, this virus, it's spreading like crazy, and, we can't be in a place of worship where it's supposed to be the most holiest place that we believe in. We can't be there because we might die in it. The Satanists that are on prescription drugs and illegal drugs are murdering people with, yeah, I don't know. That's probably what some of the mass shooters are doing, probably. But anyway, no, it definitely had nothing to do with the government shutting anything down. It's because people did not stand up and invoke their rights as humans. That's what happened. And so, as I was saying before we got on that particular topic, the goal for my family is to live all in one place. We have 2 beautiful daughters and one on the way. And yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit, because they're getting into psychedelic drugs now. And I think that there's a huge movement with that. I've touched on it quite a bit. Some of you have heard this before, may get a little tired of it, but I think it's an important thing to touch on and really beat home, because it's so many people are going to be manipulated into doing these things. Anyway, so, we got 2 daughters and another daughter on the way. And the goal is to set up a family structure in which we live on the same plot of land forever, hopefully. That's the goal, and share all our resources. So when my daughters have husbands, we will pool our resources together, regardless on whatever my financial situation is here. I think that that's the smartest thing to do. I think that's how you have a strong, secure family. And so that's what we're working towards, essentially. So to get on to the point regarding the psychedelic drugs that I've touched on before. So in Davos, they had a meeting regarding psychedelic drugs and bringing it to the mainstream. I think the reason for that is really simple: to push people into these false spiritual awakenings, and to push people into these false spiritual awakenings, and to have a shift into a new medical system, because they see that the current medical system, particularly Western medicine, is losing favor amongst the people. People are becoming more dubious of this certain system. And so now they have to shift the focus and go alternative, which is why we see the increase of CBD use. We saw the introduction of, the ganja. I don't know what I can really say on TikTok, but we saw that becoming legalized everywhere. And that was the gateway, because whether you want to believe it or not, it is a gateway drug. It's not a gateway drug in that, oh, this high is no longer good enough for me, I need to do something stronger. It's a gateway drug in that it opens you up to the drug world at a very basic level. It then allows you to have the opportunity to meet other people who are doing other sort of drugs, which can then lead you down a path of total destruction. All right, Mandy. So anyway, this whole movement has allowed for the psychedelic movement to come to light, because now we have a bunch of people who are doing microdosing, saying that, oh, it's really helping me stay focused, it's helping me be more creative. And there is some evidence to support that, especially, off of the WEED, right? Especially off of that, there's evidence to support this. We know a lot of artists who will use these things to enhance their creative abilities, allegedly, while some other people say that they can't do anything. They have to maintain their sobriety in order to be at their creative peak. So anyway, we then see, because of the WEED movement, the push into coffee works for me. Yeah, I like coffee as well, but there's a funny thing about coffee that most people are unaware of. And I'm not trying to get on a high horse here, but I'm just trying to share something with you guys. And I'll be upfront. I drank coffee this morning, even knowing what I'm about to tell you. It's something I have to work on. But coffee is actually really, really bad for your body, because it doesn't energize you. It just puts you into, it activates your stress receptors. So it basically puts your body in a fight mode, in a stress. You feel stressed because it's hitting your stress hormones, not receptors, your stress hormones. And so that's why you feel like you get energy after coffee, but it's actually destroying your body. It's not a good thing. It's something I need to work on. I have a little bit of I wouldn't say an addiction. I can go a few days without it, but I do crave it from time to time. But that is something important to know regarding coffee. Day by day, oh dear Lord, these things I pray to see you more clearly, love you more dearly. So getting back to the whole psychedelic thing, ultimately the reason why we're seeing this is because there's a mass shift in consciousness when it comes to believing the Western medicine. There's a huge shift for that. You can't quit coffee, weak. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely quit coffee. I used to chew tobacco. I was, really addicted to that for quite some time, for years. I started chewing when I was like 16. I'm 26 now. I quit chewing when I was about 21, I believe, 22, something along those lines. So I chewed for quite some time, and I quit cold turkey. I know I have the mind for it. I just enjoy it, if I'm being honest. It's definitely not from weakness. I know that I have a lot of willpower, but yeah, anyway, it has a calming effect for me, but it does dehydrate. This is another thing. It does dehydrate. It can mess up your gut, right? Cause leaky gut. There's a lot of things. I'm not a doctor or anything. I do get into nutrition. I like to focus on that stuff. I need to do better overall with my diet too. So I'm not going to sit here and pontificate on what's the best diets. And although I do have a very strong opinion on that, I'm not really in a position to talk with my current size. I'm going to use the excuse that it's because my wife is pregnant. And so I'm doing some sympathy eating, right? Right. Anyway, but that's what I think is going on with the psychedelic. Eat roots. No, actually, vegetables and roots are horrible for you. You can't digest them. Vegetables are like one of the worst things that a human can eat. The best thing a human can eat, the most optimal diet for humans, is an animal based diet. All natural, all raw, no pasteurization whatsoever. And as far as eggs go, make sure that you can get some eggs that are not, from chickens that are not being fed soy or grains. That's the best way to go. Sympathy eating. I haven't heard that one before. Yeah, I hadn't either until my wife was pregnant for the first time. And my mother-in-law told me about sympathy eating, which it may be a thing. It may be a thing. I know that I definitely get some weird cravings as well once my wife is pregnant. It's sympathy eating. Maybe I just need to be more of a man and not cave to her estrogen, her hormones that are just going crazy. The Catholic religion is the worship of the evil fallen. I don't believe that. I do not believe that. I'm not very keen on Protestantism. But that's a whole nother topic. We actually got into theology a little bit on the show yesterday. But that's what's going on in Italy to circle things back around. So there's a social credit system that they're going to be rolling out sometime between 2022 to 2024 and pay people for their behavior. And we're going to be seeing that at scale. There's actually this other place, I believe it's called the Dehumanization Institute. Let me see. Let's see here. Actually, let me go to Twitter because I follow the guy on Twitter. I try to get him on the show, Minds of Tomorrow, the long form podcast that we do here. Let me go through my DMs because I know I messaged him in here. Yeah, but there's this institution that is being built and people are there where they are being hooked up to machines and running, doing, their normal activities on social media, and they're getting paid in cryptocurrency. And the way the cryptocurrency is paying out is through their body heat. So they are essentially doing proof of work and powering the machines through their body heat. Here we go. Manuel Beltran. I'll share this with everybody over here on YouTube. Let's go here. So this guy right here is in charge of an institute that I would really like to interview him a little bit more on this institute. So yeah, it's the Institute of Human Adolescence. Let me go here and see if I can pull up the website, and then we'll go into it a little bit because it's very interesting. So we're seeing this huge movement taking place right now. And a lot of people are unaware of it. So if you're following us, you're like one of the first people to hear about this, hopefully, So if you guys are learning a lot of new stuff and you want to stay ahead of the curve, be sure to hit that plus sign, hit the like button, share this with a family, friends, all that stuff. We're here 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Sundays, we do a weekly recap with everybody else on MOT at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So right here is the Institute of Human Adolescence. So employing humans to perform biological labor and speculate with the value of their bodies. That's what this institute does. So it says Institute of Human Behavior. Machines are ousting us. As it happened some time ago to horses after the invention of the steam engine, humans are becoming obsolete to perform mechanical labor soon. With the advance of artificial intelligence, it will also affect our possibility to be useful workers performing intelligent labor. The IOHO explores this scenario and tries to ask questions on how to reposition the role of humans in society, particularly how to cope with labor market dominated by big machines. Becoming obsolete will create a reality in which new forms of labor will emerge and flourish. Our aim is to explore, question, and challenge scenarios of that transition. And there may be some videos here on the website. So they have a list here of the coins that you get paid in by your body heat. There's some images here. You got to sign a contract. You're hooked up to these things, as you guys can see. Looks basically like you have this black, what appears to be like gurney, and those things that you get your blood pressure tested on at the doctor, those little armbands. Looks like you got those armbands, and then a bunch of sensors are on it with wires that come out that are hooked up to your brain, it looks like. And then they set you on these looks like medical examination tables. So let's see if there's a video here. If there is a video, I will flip the camera over on TikTok so that way you guys can see it too. Activities, research. Let's see. I'm not showing anything. I thought that there was a video last I visited this site when I first discovered it, but I guess not. So yeah, it's pretty interesting, and this guy here who is attempting to create it, he considers himself a digital activist, a digital human rights activist, and he's fighting against digital colonialization. Basically, the taking over of our data and using it for their benefit, not our benefit, essentially making us data slaves is what he states, which is true in some part. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to speak with him, because he is touching on some very important things and he's approaching it from a different angle. However, it appears that it just falls in line with what the elite want, right? It sounds like it's a predecessor to the Matrix. So right here, it actually says how it works. So it says unused heat. Alone in the Netherlands, there are 1,700 kilowatts of unexploited electricity to be harvested from human body heat. Benefit. From the electricity extracted of excess heat in bodysuit runs a computer-producing cryptocurrency, proof of work. Health. Workers have to lay down and do nothing. The bodysuit maintains their body temperature. Maximizing the capital. We mine recently created cryptocurrencies that have potential to grow in value. So cryptocurrencies are going to be used to enable this new system that's being come out, but they're also going to be used in beneficial ways, I believe, as far as allowing you to create your own currency, allowing you to create your own city-state if you would like. So it's very interesting what cryptocurrencies can do. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting things going on right now that you're not really going to hear about in the mainstream media, even a lot of alternative media. Some news broke today, or not today, a few days ago, regarding Nick Fuentes. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of who Nick Fuente is, or the American First movement that he has created, the AF. He is a big voice in the conservative movement. He is I believe he's Generation Z, which I'm right there with him. I'm Generation Z as well. It's debatable. Some people say 1995 is start of Generation Z. Some say 1996. I don't know. I'm right in the middle between Generation Z and Millennial. Anyway, he's a Generation Z. He's a Zoomer. And he has his people that are called the Groypers. And they're big on traditionalism, right? They want to remove women's right to vote. So there's a lot of things that I agree with them on. However, he has a very feminine way about him, and he portrays to be a leader of men. And, he's made backhand comments regarding workers and stuff like that, manual labor workers, and just disgusting jokes. And it actually was revealed that he is into so I'll just reiterate this. He is a big traditionalist, and he's trying to revive the American tradition, trying to restore traditional masculinity, but he still lives at home with his mom, last I checked. And which there's nothing really wrong with that, as I mentioned before, but it's the way that he talks about it is a little weird. Anyway, into tranny porn. He's into tranny porn. Somebody found it on his phone, leaked it. So yeah, that's what you see from a lot of the traditional right, alleged a lot of the traditional right is just a bunch of fakers. I think Alex Jones too had been revealed to liking tranny porn. I could be wrong on that. I do listen to Alex Jones, however. I do feel that it is a good source of information to understand where a large portion of the truther community is getting their information from. It's a good thing to listen to understand what our I don't want to say competition, but what other people in our industry are doing to focus on that. So I listen to other more so mainstream traditional podcasts as well, read traditional news sites, and some leftist liberal places as well, trying to be informed as to what they're doing all around. But anyway, that's what we try to set ourselves apart from. We're into having families here. We're into traditional lifestyle, getting back to the roots of what humanity is, and just looking for truth. As I stated in the beginning of the show, we may be wrong, but we will never lie to you. We will never lie to you. And if it comes out that we were incorrect on providing a piece of information, we will own up to it and tell you. We have no issue with that. No issue whatsoever. And that's where I think a lot of people go astray when it comes to their information. They feel that it has to be 100% correct all the time. But let's be real. We're humans. We make mistakes. And also, another thing that we want to bring to the table that you don't really hear so much from media in the news is thinking through ideas, speculating as to what may have taken place, theorizing, and then just going through that whole process. So that way people can see what it's like for a man, for a living human to go through that thinking process. Because right now, critical thinking skills are at an all-time low, and it is causing a lot of issues, I believe. A lot of people are becoming more brainwashed and they're easier to control in a lot of ways. So, take this for instance. This is a kind of a good segue into what we're going on here with this critical thinking skills, and memory is also decreasing tremendously. Attention spans are decreasing tremendously. And this is proof of it right here, what the NHS had just did to their website regarding the monkeypox. So right here, it says the NHS just edited their monkeypox page to make it scarier. Of course, they did the same thing when it comes to, they did the same thing when it comes to jabs. They did the same thing when it comes to the vid. So this is nothing new here. This is par for the course. So let's read exactly what they changed here. So up until a few days ago, according to archive links, the monkeypox page said this regarding person-to-person transmission. It is very uncommon to get monkeypox from a person with the infection because it does not spread easily. And now that has been removed. So it's no longer on the page. That's originally what it said, but that's been removed. Secondly, they removed this paragraph, which was present up until at least November 2021. And maybe much more recently, there are no archives between November and May. Emphasis added. So this was removed. Monkeypox is usually a mild illness that will get better on its own without treatment. Some people can develop more serious symptoms, so patients with monkeypox in the UK are cared for in a specialist hospital. And now this is what the new paragraph reads. So they removed those two sections and replaced it with the following. Treatment for monkeypox aims to relieve symptoms. The illness is usually mild and most people recover in 2 to 4 weeks. You may need to stay in a specialist hospital so your symptoms can be treated and to prevent infection spreading to other people. So they removed that it will get better on its own. And again, reinforce the idea of spreading the disease despite this being described as very uncommon. As recently as last week, they even added a line about self-isolating, which was never mentioned before. As monkeypox can spread if there is close contact, you will need to be isolated if you're diagnosed. So we already see places like Belgium enforcing quarantine for the monkey virus, the monkeypox virus. We already see New York City and other states, I believe, enforcing mask mandates to prevent the spread of the monkeypox. We saw that the Biden administration ordered 13 million vaccines for the monkeypox and a bunch of other antiviral drugs in preparation for this. They put in the order months ago, long before news broke about this outbreak that's taking place. You have African doctors who are quote unquote baffled because this is spreading in Western countries and it's not in Nigeria where it typically is. Watch the YouTube video, The Man Behind the Mask. Okay. So, it's building up to try and get people fearful, which will then take rights away. And it's just good to be vigilant on what's taking place when it comes to that particular virus. I'm not scared of it. I don't really think it's much of a concern. I think it's just going to be used to generate more money, right? Because that's ultimately what needs to be done in order to prop up our economic system. Is you need these crises to allow for the mass printing of money, right? So now we're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. So we have an excuse to dump money over there. We have this new virus coming out. So now we have money. We have excuses to print money for that. And it just allows this house of cards to withstand a little bit longer. But ultimately, I think we're just going to have this ping-ponging effect from crisis to crisis to keep people distracted and to keep people in this constant fear state and anxiety. And there's going to be no relief because they want you to be in a constant state of fear and confusion because it makes you easier to control. That's ultimately the aim. And it then makes you more susceptible to follow rules that you wouldn't follow because you just want sanity. Another thing that we could be facing is food shortages. We talked about this a little bit, actually quite a bit. And there's this interesting article that was written by some people in China regarding a conspiracy theory in the United States is the culprit, is behind it, DARPA specifically. So this article reads, Chinese regime conspiracy theory, U.S. creating insect bioweapons to cause famines. So China's state-run Global Times took a stab on Tuesday at blaming the impending global food crisis not on the invasion of Ukraine by China's ally Russia or the worldwide shipping disruption caused by China's brutal, I don't know if I can say that, but the lockdowns, but on super insects weaponized by the U.S. military and dispatched to cause deliberate famines in rival countries. They do have a point. I mean, there is this insect allies that the DARPA, the organization DARPA had created these insects to hopefully spread their to protect the genes and the spread plants a lot easier and help the altering with the genes the plants can express. But there's also been a conspiracy theories floating around, not just from China, but from people in the U.S. Hey, they can actually use this to do real damage to crops. And so China isn't far-fetched in their idea. It sounds crazy, but it's not far-fetched. And I think that this article right here is very slanted because China is not oblivious to the multiple factors that are contributing to our global food crisis, right? Russia is the biggest fertilizer supplier, one of the biggest fertilizer suppliers in the world. And now we're not wanting to do deals with Russia. Ukraine has a bunch of wheat, and now Ukraine is, pretty much landlocked, having issues getting out their wheat supply. So now we can't get wheat from Ukraine. And then you have just the ports being blocked up in China. But I think a lot of that is happening in China because they are attempting to get out Western bankers, Jewish bankers from their country. I think they're trying to shake out a lot of foreigners from their country because they are in preparation to pretty much be at the head of this worldwide government, although they're not going to be leading it the same way the United States is. I think that, as George Soros said, Russia and China are the greatest threat to globalization. George Soros said that. And so if Russia and China are our greatest hope for sovereign nations, maybe we should not be so antagonistic towards China and Russia. Maybe they're doing something right. Maybe we can learn from them. And maybe they're doing something right because both of their leaders have lived under empirical reigns and witnessed what takes place in an empire. Could be. But yeah, that was an interesting thing that I wanted to share with you guys. But that's going to be pretty much it for the show tonight. I thank everybody for tuning in. Be sure to pass this along to a family member, a friend, somebody that you think will benefit from this. If you enjoyed the show and you want to, support us in any way, you can do so at my Cash App. It is $. So it's the actual $, Luis Acevedo 27. So that's $LUISACEVEDO 27 is where you can support MOT Media. And give us a follow, give us a subscribe to the YouTube channel, everywhere. And you can find us on Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. But thank you guys once again. We'll be back here tomorrow, 10 p.m. sharp Eastern Standard Time. And then on Sunday, we will have the whole gang at MOT Media at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, recapping some of the things that happened over the week. So thank you for tuning in. Much love. Peace.